Delightful discoveries await! Welcome to Primo Traveller. And on today's 10 prime picks, let's talk about the best way to experience Lisbon, Portugal. Now make sure that you watch until the very end, because you're not going to want to miss our top 3 spots. Lisbon is the largest city and capital of Portugal. It's recognized as a global city because of its importance in finance, commerce, fashion, entertainment, arts, education, and also international trade. But what's perhaps even more important is it's the second oldest city in all of Europe. Only Athens is older. Lisbon was founded in roughly 1200 BC, so it has nearly 3,000 years of history. This is where the Age of Discovery began, so make sure that you discover it yourself. Now let's dive in and take a look at the top 10 awesome things to do when you're in Lisbon. Number 10. You can walk to historic landmarks. It's recommended that you jumpstart your journey with a beautiful view of the city. This helps you get an idea of everything that's going on. Torre de Belém, also known as the Tower of St. Vincent, stands proudly where the Tagus River meets with the Atlantic Ocean. It was built in the 16th century by King Manuel I and is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site, perhaps the most iconic feature of the entire city. The Torre de Belém waved goodbye to famed explorers like Vasco da Gama as they set out on their perilous journey around the world. For those to never return, it was their last sight of home. This tower features water-swept surroundings, a dome ceiling, and also defensive cannons. Not only that, a fantastic view of the sea and the city itself. And while you're in the area, make sure that you pick up some pastéis de Belém. This is arguably the most famous pastry in all of Portugal, which dates back to 1837. There are also some other historic landmarks dotting the city, like the Monument to the Discoveries, built in honor of Portuguese expeditions, particularly in Asia and also India. There's also a massive triumphal gate, which is located in Rua Augusta, and the fascinating Aqueducto das Águas Livres that was built in the 1700s. Now, it is best to take a guided tour so you don't miss anything, but those are pretty widely available. Number 9. Underwater wonders at the Oceanarium. The Oceanário de Lisboa, the largest indoor aquarium in Europe, is one of Portugal's most popular family-oriented spots. And it houses up to 16,000 animals. That's insane! With 450 marine species like rays, barracudas, and sharks, all of these animals represent the diverse ecology of the Portuguese Empire, from the rocky coasts of the North Atlantic to Indian reefs and even the Antarctic Ocean. Number 8. Sit back and relax at a town square. Witness the culture unfold around you by strolling through or sitting at one of Lisbon's many public squares. One such plaza is the famous Rocio Square, and this marks the center of the Pombalene lower town. And it's been well known since the medieval age, where people would gather for revolutions, demonstrations, celebrations, bullfights, and even executions throughout its history. Here you can also find the Praça de Comércio, which faces the harbor, and also other public squares. Number 7. Sample the mouth-watering cuisine and nightlife. One of the perfect spots to savor this local cuisine, which is fantastic by the way, is the Mercado de Ribeira. It's a huge outdoor market near the Tagus River, and is basically the main food market in all of Lisbon. It opened in 1892, and for more than 100 years, this market has been providing residents of the city with seafood, fruits, and vegetables. It now features a large food hall and numerous restaurants, which is where some of the best chefs in Lisbon are located. Here you can also sample some of Lisbon's iconic specialties: the pastéis de nata, otherwise known as Portuguese custard tarts, and you can also have Portuguese fine wine. There are also souvenirs and handicrafts in the area, so check those out as well. At night, you can indulge at Barrio Alto and Alcantara, which are packed with alfresco cafes, great for the great weather in the area, and international restaurants. Barrio Alto, in particular, is the city's best nightlife spot, and it's downright bohemian. It also features a glimpse of Fado, which was created in the 1820s in Lisbon, And this is actually an art form that is registered with UNESCO. Number 6, check out churches and monasteries. Now, we know this list wouldn't be complete without a few churches, right? And Portuguese missionaries played an important role in expanding Portugal's power during its imperial days. And the city features numerous churches, monasteries, and religious monuments, all of which you're able to visit. The Lisbon Cathedral is arguably the most iconic landmark in maybe the entire city. And it's also the oldest church in Lisbon. It was built in the 12th century. It features a nave, a sanctuary, a transept, Gothic tombs, and ancient cloisters. You can also visit the Jeronimos Monastery, which is famous for its ornate spirals and grand carvings, and man, they are grand. The gorgeous domes of the Basilica de Estrela can also be found in the city, or even the ruins of the Convento do Carmo. The list doesn't stop there, of course, but if we brought up every single church in Lisbon, we'd be here for like 3 days. Next, you can sightsee or surf at Sintra and Cascais, coming in at number 5. A town less than an hour's drive from the city center, Sintra is a favorite weekend and holiday destination, with an abundance of luxury resorts, villas, and restaurants. In the 19th century, King Ferdinand II turned a ruined monastery into a castle here, and that established Sintra as the first center of European Romantic architecture. This is also a favorite vacation location of the nobility and upper classes, and also Portuguese rulers. You can access this area by car, train, or by guided tour. It's really up to you. Similar to Sintra, Cascais used to be a small fishing village, which is about 30 kilometers away from Lisbon. In the 19th century, the Portuguese royal family chose this beautiful place as a vacation destination. It has lovely beaches, a big yacht harbor, and attractions such as museums, art galleries, and even the ruins of a castle. Number 4, let's talk about walking and exploring Alfama. The best way to immerse yourself in the surroundings of Portugal is to walk across Alfama's medieval streets that are lined with age-old red-roofed buildings, historic monuments, and cultural heritage sites. Alfama is the oldest district in Lisbon. The charming neighborhood of Alfama also features hidden courtyards, old churches, and small squares, and downright fantastic architecture. You're gonna want to head on over to the Miradouro de Santa Luísa garden or the Miradouro das Portas do Sol to enjoy a great view of Alfama, with a backdrop of beautiful blue water. Alfama really lets you meet the soul of the city. And if you want to hear some great stories and understand the sites better, you can always join a guided tour. And also, many of the traditional buildings in the area have been transformed into rental apartments, so it's pretty easy to find accommodations. Third, witness the majesty of palaces and castles. And speaking of Alfama, while you're there, you can also check out the São Jorge Castle. The former royal palace was built 2,000 years ago and has been used over the centuries by the Phoenicians, Carthaginians, Romans, and Moors. This is where the Portuguese king welcomed Vasco da Gama after his historic journey to India. And it's one of the best places to get a great view of the entire city. There's also the Ribeira Palace, which was the royal residence of Portugal's kings until it was destroyed by an earthquake in 1755. The Grand Palace of the Marquis of Frontiera was built nearby, and it features regal gardens, sculptures, and, get this, even lakes. Number 2. Make sure that you marvel at the museums. With thousands of years of history and, of course, its heyday during the Age of Discovery, Lisbon contains some of the most exciting and important museums. The National Museum of Ancient Art lovingly shelters Portugal's prestigious national art collection. It's housed in the 17th century Palácio Alvor, and it's been there for over 100 years. It features over 40,000 ancient masterpieces and national treasures, some of which are more than 1,000 years old. At the National Tile Museum, you can trace the important history of tile making from hundreds of years ago, and also see traditional blue ceramic tiles called azuelos. And some of them are super old, but in a good way. They date back to the 15th century. And these actually helped give rise to Portugal's reputation as basically a ceramic hub. You can also visit the Museu de Oriente and witness culture and art from the far reaches of Portugal's great Renaissance empire, with specimens from all over the entire world. There's also the Lisboa Story Center, and Lisboa is Lisbon in Portuguese, by the way, the Barado Collection Museum, and various other museums housing the country's rich history. And you can visit these museums by tram, tuk-tuk, or also just a plain old stroll. And at number 1, hop on a tram car and a funicular. Soak in the romance of the city by hopping onto a tram car. Tram 28 is most famous because of the attractions that you pass while you ride along the 7-kilometer route. And also because of the tram car itself, a charming remodelado that dates back to the 1930s, but it's still in great condition. Hear the rattling of the rails as you wind through the narrow cobbled streets of 4 beautiful districts. From the hills of Graca, through the alleys of Escolas Gerais, and many more landmarks, before you finally pull to a stop beneath the dazzling domes of the Estrela Basilica. You can discover decades of history as you roll across the area in this unique mode of transportation. And it's also pretty relaxing. Now here's an exclusive tip, so make sure that you listen up to this. We suggest that you get the 24-hour public transport ticket, as it actually covers unlimited rides for all of the tram routes and the metro and bus services. It really helps you get around. But all of this is only part of the Lisbon Rail experience. You can also catch these similarly yellow-colored funiculars that traverse the elevated parts of the city. Like Rome, Lisbon was built on 7 hills, so riding a funicular gives you a glimpse of the majestic city in its entirety. Catch the vintage Ascender do Lavra, which is the oldest functional funicular in Lisbon, and it dates all the way back to 1884. Pretty tough to believe, right? And along the route, make sure that you drop by the Santa Justa elevator, a 19th century industrial age marvel, which lifts people that are heading from Baixa to Carmo, and also gives you an amazing view of the Lisbon downtown area. And those are the top 10 things to do when you visit Lisbon. Make sure that you go ahead and like the video and click that subscribe button for more of our 10 prime picks. And make sure that you let Primo Traveller be your guide to premier destinations around the entire world. And also, hey, if you visit Lisbon and you like it, come back here and leave a comment on this video. We'll see all of you in the next one, and goodbye.